Well, we're back with another episode of our Greater Culture Chats. Brad and Chelsea hanging out here in the garage gym again. And Chelsea, last time we chatted all about the Open
Hmm.
competition. The
Yep.
Open starts this week.
Yes.
But what are we chatting about today?
Well, Brad, you did a competition this weekend.
Went down to Fittest of the Coast, Charleston, South Carolina. It was fun. Weather was horrible. It was rainy and cold and nasty, so it was a perfect time to do a competition inside at a big convention center.
Yeah, where is it in Charleston? Like, is it they have a convention center that they hold it in, or
We did it this year at the North Charleston Convention Center.
okay?
So, I mean, it was a big venue. There was other things I think going on at the same time or could have gone on. So if you imagine just a big open concrete floor type of space, and the way they had it set up was one side of the big open area was the competition floor with some seating and where everybody was actually doing the workouts as well as the athlete warm up area. And then the whole other side of the building was set up for vendors, the athlete hangout area. So both sides were pretty
Hmm.
full the whole weekend.
It's kind of nice to do an indoor competition. I feel like the whole thing now is everybody's going outdoor. Like everyone's like, oh, it's gonna be outdoor, it's gonna be this, and so all the big ones just seem, and it's nice, it's fun, especially in the summer and stuff. But like on a cold weekend in February,
Yeah, it's probably a good time of year for it because even
yeah,
Charleston can be hit or miss with weather, but it's nice knowing the workouts or what they're going to be. There's no edits or modifications. You don't have to go running outside or do anything outside. So it was nice that inside was warm and taken care of. It was just the process of getting there
hmm,
that was cold, rainy, and nasty.
yeah, that is nice. That it's a set way it's going to be. Like you don't have any outside, like it's a
Yeah,
little windy and then you're screwed on doing muscle ups or something like that.
yeah.
Now, did you like it being inside though? Like is the vibe off because you're inside and not outside in the sun, like tearing it up or anything?
Yeah, I liked it because it had the vibe of a big semifinals like
Hmm.
type of experience. The only thing that I can compare it to in terms of like size and things like that would be Wadapalooza, much bigger, more venues and things like that for you to compete on. But here they had two different competition floors laid out,
Okay.
huge space. Each one had 13 lanes of a rig with plenty of space. One was a 50-foot area, one was a 25-foot area, and there was workouts going nonstop all day, both days. So the vibe was great inside because there is a lot of energy, there's a
Hmm.
lot of noise. You can hear the crowd, you can hear the speakers, and they did have some MCs going on as well. So I liked it because you knew what the workouts were going to be. You knew there weren't going to be any issues or
Yeah.
things like that when it comes to actually competing. So the vibe was really cool down there. They did a really good job of not only building it up, but then actually following through and executing on
Hmm.
everything they said it was going to be and more.
Now you got to watch some workouts as well. Do you think the spectators had good views and a good experience as well, or that could be
Yeah,
improved?
I
Or
think the spectators, it wasn't so busy that you couldn't see. So spectators were able to basically wrap around the barricades, which was great.
they
So
didn't
they
have
could
stadium
see.
seatings or
They
anything?
had a few seats set up with like maybe 5 rows.
Hmm.
If you were standing there, you could see pretty much the whole competition floor. It wasn't any kind of high rise seating. But most people, if their team or their people they were cheering on were going, they were able to get right up on the barricades and figure out what lane they were in and just watch and cheer on from right there. So that made it cool too, that like the fans were less than 5 feet away from where you were working.
Hmm.
And so you could hear them and interact with them,
Yeah,
which was
that is
cool
nice.
too. Yeah.
And then you think a lot of people came to watch? It wasn't just the athletes cheering on other athletes. It was like people from gyms actually showed up to be there.
It feels like it. It's hard to know, there's so many athletes and then even spectators. Like there's a lot of people there. I was pleasantly surprised how big it was. I'm sure they were too. There was a lot of people there. I felt like there was a lot of fans there, and you could tell like as the day went on or as people were clearing out because things, certain teams were done or whatnot. You're like, oh, now it feels empty. But in the middle of the day, when all the teams were rocking and rolling, like
Hmm.
it felt pretty busy in there, and even the athlete area was pretty full. Like there wasn't a ton of space to set up chairs and yoga mats and things like that. So it was very full in there, which made it a really cool experience too.
Yeah, it wasn't so crowded that you felt kind of pushed in the corner, but you still
Yeah.
had enough space. And
Yeah, I've been to one of those events before where like the athlete hangout area was so tight and congested that you were like stepping on everybody else's stuff, and it was weird. Like there was enough space that you could sit down, relax between or after events, and you didn't feel like you were on top of each other. And still, I think the spectators got to move around between all the vendors and everything like that. So it was a very like big, huge space that was free flowing, but there was enough people there that it made it feel full when you were competing. Like there was actually a crowd there cheering you on and stuff, which was cool.
yeah. And how were the vendors? Were there a good amount there? Did you get to cop some swag or?
Yeah, so there was actually, I feel like some of the vendors who are there are the ones who you typically see at some of these events, like Barbell Voodoo was there selling awesome t-shirts. LRX was there. They've been, kind of growing in that space as well. And then Valor Fitness, who provided all of the equipment and outfitted the entire competition, was there. So it's kind of like, if you imagine like a Rogue, they had a ton of equipment there that they were selling. And then obviously everything we used for the event was their own equipment. There was some PTs there who were treating people all weekend. First Form was there. There was a local food company. So there was certainly enough people there that like there was things to check out. Definitely picked up some gear from Barbell Voodoo. Their t-shirts are awesome. Got some gear from LRX. Their people are awesome. So yeah, everybody who was there from a vendor standpoint was great too, which was cool because it always makes you feel like it's a bigger event. You got these bigger vendors and they're giving out stuff, which is always fun.
Yeah, it's like budgets go out the window when you're at competitions because it's in your face. It's not online anymore. And you're like, oh, I need this now because I'm holding it in my hand.
Yeah,
like,
and First Form was great because they were just like giving away stuff. They're like, here's all of our protein bars, here's all of our beef sticks, here's everything. They're like, take everything. We're like, okay. So we basically got a lot of stuff every day. The only provider I would have loved to see is I would have loved for there to be some kind of a beverage company, whether it was like, an O2, a Fittest, something like that, because it's always good to get those free drinks when you need them most.
Yeah, that is a little disappointing. I definitely love when Fittest's there throwing drinks at you.
I know.
And now moving back to the competition itself, how did you feel about the programming as an athlete?
Yeah, so we had 2 workouts both days, which I very much appreciated because you could go hard, recover, go hard again, then you got to rest and sleep. Versus sometimes these local competitions where you're doing 4 or 5 workouts in a day are really demanding. So this was great. In terms of the programming, did the RX co-ed division. So there was, day 1 was heavy and high skill. Like our first event was legless rope climbs and clean and jerks at like 225, 155, then a 2-minute window to hit as many clean and jerks as you can at 275, 185. So that was heavy and a kick in the butt to start the weekend, which was good. And then the second event that day was a very sprint-like one where we got to do the echo bike, we got to move a sandbag, there was some gymnastics in there with chest to bar, muscle ups, handstand walking. So very high skill, fast workouts for day 1. And then day 2, I felt like it was a little bit more classic CrossFit where we had an AMRAP of like toe to bar, wall balls, Zeus double unders while one person's on a runner and you're just kind of going back and forth. And then the other workout was like deficit handstand push-ups, burpees over a line, hang snatches, deadlifts. So just like kind of classic CrossFit workouts that were a little bit longer than day 1. So overall, the programming was great. I felt like it was a little bit more maybe individual heavy, even though it was a team event. We only synchroed like one movement. A lot of it was like you go, I go, break things up however you want. So there's certainly a lot of strategy with that. But I always think it's fun when you get a chance to either synchro stuff or work together on movements or like tackle things like that. And all the workouts were 8 or 12 minutes, some for time, some AMRAPs, but nothing beyond a 12-minute window. So everything was pretty tight and condensed as well. So overall, it was fun, but definitely challenging. And they had us do every kind of movement you could do on the rig.
Yeah, so on day 2 you didn't feel too smashed. Well, I'm sure you felt smashed on day 1, but like it wasn't like you overdid the shoulders so that they were totally out on day 2. It was pretty balanced.
Yeah, definitely a lot of pulling, especially like event one,
Yeah,
rope
that'll.
climbs and clean and jerks, and then even the second event, the heavy sandbag carry, chest to bars, muscle ups, like it was very pulling, grippy, and then even day 2 felt very grippy. So a lot of us who had gone down to compete said it was very like shoulder pulling, intensive
Would
type
have
of
been nice to
weekend.
do a few more presses in there to kind of balance
Yeah,
it out.
as an athlete who loves squatting, I would have loved to see more squatting over the
Yeah.
weekend. We got to do some heavy wall balls, but outside of that, there wasn't a lot of squatting over the weekend. So yeah, every competition is a little bit different and unique, and this one provided some really good challenges.
Now, how do you think it was for like the people watching? Like you got to watch some, Emily got to watch some, you were with people that watched them. As a spectator watching the event, do you think it was entertaining? You could follow it, or was it kind of like a blur of people out there?
I think I think it was actually pretty easy to follow along because you could look down the line and kind of
Mhm.
see where people were at, and the workouts that were for time, you could tell pretty well like, hey, who's advanced or not advanced, or who's moving along, and who's crossing that finish line. I think that is one benefit of just having one person sort of working on the floor at a time, is it's
Mhm.
easy to see what's going on. There was good gaps between workouts for some teams. Other teams felt like they were going pretty quickly after each other, so there was enough time to kind of take it all in, see what was going on. But I think the view from the spectator standpoint was great because they had like the entire floor around the competition floor was open, so you could watch from the side or the
Yeah.
back side or any
And if you're
side.
just
So
glancing at it, you kind of know what's going on. You know who's
yeah,
winning. You know who's kind of behind, and that's always nice
yeah,
too because you don't want to be like you're not going to see the whole workout of every workout. And if
right,
you're walking up to it, you're like, I have no idea where anybody's at in this workout. So it's
yeah.
nice when the programming lends itself to being able to see where people are at and cheer
Yeah, it
for
was definitely a
people and stuff.
smart move by them of like there basically was one workout each day per side, and each team just kept working through. Like they modified and adjusted weights, movements, etc. But it was like one base workout. It was all day, same side, and then same thing going for the other side. So it's like you just got to see it over and over again. So you could watch all the other
Mm-hmm.
teams and know, but like, yeah, it was a pretty smart move by them of just basically doing one workout per side all day and just change out things as needed, to get everybody in within that window, because there was a lot of teams, a lot of divisions came down,
Yeah.
which made it a lot of fun too. I think seeing so many different athletes competing over the weekend was cool.
Yeah. The videos coming out, I was impressed to see just how large of a scale it was. I didn't realize how big it was going to be, but it was cool to see that.
I think they kept expanding it too, because originally when we had qualified back in like October, they were going to take 20, and
Mm-hmm.
then by the time we got invitations and there was enough interest, like even in our division, then they were bringing 30 teams down, and then same thing with the other divisions where there was 20 plus teams in a lot of these divisions. So that's a lot of athletes to
Yeah.
work through over the course of a weekend, and stay on time and make sure everybody knows where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. So kudos to them for organizing and making it all happen over for just the teams 2 days, because they still had individuals who competed the 2 days
Mm-hmm.
prior. So there was, yeah, a lot going on that weekend.
It's impressive. What was your favorite part?
Oh, it was interesting because it had been such a long time since I've competed that it was cool to get back out on the floor and move some heavier weight and do some of these higher skill movements that you don't do too often. You sprinkle them in once in a while. So I joke that they're kind of like the party tricks that we can do that you're called upon, like legless rope climbs and handstand walking, all that stuff. So for me, the best part was getting out on the competition floor and then feeling pretty good coming out of the whole thing, like really pushing hard, seeing what that feels like to compete again, and kind of getting that motivation and desire of like, okay, the Open's coming, there's other opportunities to compete. So over the weekend as a whole, I just liked getting back out on the floor. If I had to pick like a favorite workout, I would probably say there was a workout on day one where it was a 20 cal echo bike sprint. Basically pick up a 200-pound sandbag, walk it down the lane, 25 chest to bars, and then walk the sandbag back. Tag your partner, basically does the same thing. Then you get to, as a team, work through more calories, handstand walking, bar muscle ups, I actually really liked that one because it was like a sprint, which I
Mhm.
appreciate. Then you get to rest, and then you get to work hard again. So it was fun to throw all the gymnastics into that one event, push hard, recover, and just see how far we could get. So
Yeah.
that one was probably my favorite event of the whole weekend.
Yeah. And you really like working with a team or a partner or something. You
I'm
talked about being
100%.
able to sprint and then rest, and you're
Yeah, I'm a
like,
team athlete through and through. I don't think I've ever even done an individual competition. I don't think I have any desire to ever do one. So I appreciate the workouts where it is a you go, I go, or you get to work and then I get to work and there's built-in rest. That's my favorite thing.
yeah, I hate it when I like it when you can break it up however you want. You know, that's just me being picky. But when it's like you have to do a whole round and then the partner does a whole other round, I'm like, wait, hold on.
I know,
This
and
does
that's
not seem as fun. Like,
yeah. And if you're even, then it's like okay, you're both working and resting about the same time. But if you have a partner who's really skilled or really fit in a
mhm.
specific area, then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I didn't get nearly as much rest as you did because you're way fitter than I am, and now you're working faster. So that's definitely a element
Yeah.
to it as well of like what your partner's like and how you break things up and how you move well and who's working when and how you're breaking things up. So all that stuff goes into the team competition, which I appreciate as well.
Yeah, it's really funny when you look at the end and you'll see one partner like tapping the other partner on the back, and that partner that's being tapped on the back is dead. Like
Yeah.
they're gasping for air, and the other partner standing straight up, totally fine. And you're just like, they just had two different experiences. Like they
Yeah.
did the same workout and had two very different experiences. And it's very entertaining watching it for sure. It's
Yeah.
not as fun when you're a part of it.
I always like to, in the middle of a workout, when things don't go as planned, and all of a sudden, like one partner's like, "Can you go? Can you do it?" Because you're like, "I can't. I'm not ready or willing or able to right now." So it's always fun to see what point in time that happens in a workout because it inevitably happens in every partner workout.
Yeah, where you're going and you look at your partner that's still breathing very difficultly,
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, I have to hold on now. Like I
yeah.
have to do all the work here.
I was
Like this
supposed
is
to do
what's about to
5 reps,
happen.
but now I have to do 8 or 9,
Yeah.
and you're like, I really didn't want to do that, but that's what's being asked of me right
Yeah,
now.
that's it's always fun to have a plan, but then to just like jump in and change
Yeah.
it at the last moment is exciting for sure. It adds a whole new
Yeah,
dynamic to the workout.
that's the name of CrossFit right there. Is like, okay, I've got a plan, I've got things that we think are going to happen, and then the workout hits you and it completely changes.
Yeah. Now we've talked about all the good things.
Hmm.
What could have been better? And this could be like, something that the organization was doing that was putting on the event, or something you did, or maybe you didn't pack all your snacks. What could have been better about the whole weekend?
Yeah, the one thing that came to mind for us, and it was just maybe the way the timing worked out. We didn't have a lot of time between our workouts. Like day one, our first event was at like 4:37 p.m. So we finished that workout around 4:50. Our next workout was about 5:50 p.m. So we had basically an hour from the time we finished a workout till the time we were starting another workout. So there wasn't a lot of recovery time for us. It was like as soon as we kind of sat down, got a little bit of food and drink in us, it was like, hey, let's go back to the warm-up area and start again. And the same thing kind of happened to us on Sunday too. We had a shorter amount of time between events. Some of the other teams, like Emily's team, they had about 2 or 3 hours between workouts. So they had a lot longer of like downtime. So that would just be one thing that I thought could be helpful. And then something I mentioned too, I would have appreciated a little more squatting in over the course of the weekend, or a lunge or something. But they did a good job of testing us in a variety of ways. So I'd say scheduling wise, they were pretty good about staying on track. And they were good about letting us know when it was time to go and get corralled and then take the floor and things like that. So that was all good. I would just say I would have liked a little more rest time between events, and maybe a little bit of different movement variation in some of the workouts as well.
Yeah. So overall, what would you rank it 1 to 10 the weekend?
Oof, that's tough. So I've been fortunate enough to do a variety of team competitions in some pretty cool settings. So I would say, in terms of like the event, the way it was run, the 2 events each day, all the communication ahead of time of knowing what the workouts were going to be, letting us know standards, letting us know everything about that, I would put this at like an 8, 8.5 out of 10. It was something that all of us on the drive home were like, oh yeah, we definitely want to go back again next year.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So they just keep doing things better and better. And Yeah, I mean, from the environment to the workouts to the equipment, like we never had an issue with being there as an athlete and like not having enough equipment in the warm up area,
Mm-hmm.
not being on time, not knowing what was going on. Like they made sure everybody knew what was going on and everybody was set to go. So all of that, it was, yeah, probably like an 8.5 out of 10, I would say.
All right. Well, you heard it here. Fittest of the Coast, 2023, 8.5 out of 10. And maybe next year it'll be even better.
Yeah, and they keep building it up every year. I think this is their fourth or fifth year doing it. So each year they're trying to make it bigger and badder and different ways. So excited to see what they bring out next year because I know they are passionate about this event and want to keep it going.
Yeah. Well, that sounds great. I'm glad you enjoyed your weekend. You got some fitness in, recovering today.
A lot of recovery today. The Open starts in like 3 days.
Yeah.
So that was another thing is just the timing of it, which is fine. I think it's the good time of year for it because if you don't do your competition before the Open starts, you pretty much have to wait till after August to do something. So it's a good time of year to do it. So yeah, rest and recovery, seeing how the body feels. We were joking, just turned 34 not too long ago. So we're like, yeah, starting to feel 34. Moving some of the weights and doing some of these movements. So it's just a different recovery process now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, Fittest of the Coast, great success. Glad you enjoyed it. Now, for anyone who is interested in doing a competition, I know you've done a few, you've been to a bunch, you've judged at a bunch. In this area, in the North Carolina area, what would you suggest to them trying to jump into like their first competition?
Yeah, I'd say when it comes to local competitions, one, figure out if you want to do individual or some form of a team. I'd say the most common is going to be a partner style competition. Some might do a 3-person, some might even do a 4-person. But one, figure out do I want to go individual or team? And then the second piece there is what sort of division would be best for me, whether that's a scaled division. Now you're seeing a lot of intermediate divisions come up, and then you'll start to see RX, and some might even lean towards this idea of elite. So figuring out like what are the workouts you typically complete at your gym? Are you modifying them? Are you not? How would you do the open? That kind of gives you a nice idea of what division might be best for you. And then once you figure that out, figure out or identify what are some of the different competitions in the area. Because now that we're kind of getting back ramped up and people are competing again more consistently, a lot of gyms will put on an event pretty much every year.
Yeah.
So you kind of know, hey, this gym is putting an event on in the spring, or this one's doing the summer or the fall, whatever it might be. And then once you find, okay, I know if I want to do individual or team, I know what division I want to be in, I know what time of year works best for me or I'd like to compete, then you just kind of look on social media or talk to the coaches in your gym. They usually have a pretty good handle on that. And when it comes to actually doing the competition day of, I think going in with the mentality of wanting to have fun, creating some great experiences and some great memories, and letting the cards fall where they do. If you're somebody who knows you have a shot to be on the podium, then really push it and see what happens. If you're somebody who's like, this is my first or second or third competition, still kind of getting things under my belt, go in with the mentality of like, hey, let's just see how this thing unfolds. Let me enjoy this process because you're paying money for it. And at the end of the day, I think that's it. It's like going out there, enjoying it, seeing what you're capable of, having some fun along the way. Make sure you get some really good photos of you doing some really cool and badass stuff because that's important. And then your community, your friends, and family, they'll all support it, which is always really cool too.
Yeah.
So figure out individual or team, what division is going to be best for you, and then what time of year you want to compete, because you'll be able to find something locally that you can sign up for, and then be ready that like from Saturday morning, you'll probably be waking up at 5 or 6 in the morning until 5 p.m. in the afternoon. You're going to be in it. So just mentally preparing for that.
And you can go on, a lot of the gyms will post it on their social media accounts. Morning Chalk Up, if you subscribe to that, they do like a running list at the bottom of competitions going on if that gym has submitted it. I think you can basically just Google CrossFit competitions, Eventbrite, or Competition Corner will also have them listed there if you want to go and see where these might be listed at.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you can always message us through our Instagram or our Facebook, Greater Culture, and ask us more questions if you're interested in doing a competition or just want a little bit of advice. Talk to your coaches, or yeah, we're always open. Obviously, we love talking about ourselves and what we do, so we'd love to talk to you about it too. But yeah, thanks for sharing your experience about this weekend, giving us a really solid recap. And that's it for today. That's all I got. You got
Yeah.
anything, Brad?
No, it was great to compete again. Looking forward to the Open and helping everybody out there. It's a great time of year to test your fitness. Yeah, so I really appreciate the opportunity to share some of these ideas and insights. And at the same time, I think competition is good for everybody to sprinkle in their life once in a while. I think it does a lot of benefit for us.
Yes, I agree.